right now, we've got this room with a ball in it, and we can bounce around. Um, and we have painted blocks to indicate where, there's solid surfaces that can be landed on. So at this point, this is what we have. But it's not very pretty or interesting, and doesn't make a lot of sense why there's a volleyball bouncing around. But we're going to add some better graphics to this and a better character to work with, and we're also going to introduce the idea of using tile sets to change the look of the graphics in the background. So first thing we'll do is we'll import a couple of things, 2 backgrounds and then 2 sprites. So let's start with our sprites. And the 2 that we need are character left, SPR, character L, and character right, SPR, character R. And we're going to come back and modify those in a second. Right now we're going to add in 2 backgrounds. So we'll go here, load background, we're going to choose the sky. And let's see, BKG, sky. And then another background, but we're going to grab this one here called tiles. And it looks kind of strange. Make sure you remove the background on this one. You don't want the blue background, we want it to be transparent. So click open, and we're going to click use as tile set. It's not a normal background. Now what this is a grid, and these graphics are laid out on a grid, and the graphics have already been pre-separated so that they can be individual pieces of the graphic. So instead of a big block here, this is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 graphical squares. In order to use this correctly, you have to make sure that GameMaker understands where to draw the separation. And so in this case, it happens to be that the tiles are 16 by 16, so that's okay. We're not going to use an offset, but we are going to use a separation. So horizontal separation should be 1, and vertical should be 1 as well. And what you'll notice is that now everything actually is lined up perfectly. It may be hard to tell from this view, but you'll see that in a little bit. So click OK, and we'll leave that alone for now. Let's go back into our characters. One thing you got to watch out for with characters when they're moving. Notice we have a character left and a character right. When we switch between these two as we move back and forth, the boundary that determines collisions might be different. Okay, so in other words, you might bump into a wall this way, then try to turn around, and you're either still in a collision or you're not in a collision anymore, and that can cause problems. So what we want to do is make sure that we use the same collision mask for both versions of our character sprite. This is especially tricky if you've got animated sprites, but in this case we just have the 2 different sprites to work with. So we're going to click on, we're going to uncheck precise collision checking on both of these. And we're going to use the separate collision masks. Although in this case it shouldn't matter because they're not, each one is a separate individual graphic. There's not a series of animations in these. Click Modify Mask for both of these. Oh, I guess we got to do them one at a time. All right, we're going to click Manual, and we're going to use these numbers. Notice the grayed out area is the collision. So right now it's like the whole square, but we don't want that. We're going to use 7 for left, 23 for right, 2 for the top, and 31 for the bottom. Make sure it says rectangle, and that should be good. Everything else is fine. So it looks like this. Click OK, and we'll do the same numbers for the other one. And so we'll go manual, and we're going to use 7, 23, 2, and 31. All right, and that's the little collision area right there. Click OK, and those are good to go. Let's go into our room, and we're going to set up our background and tile set. So let's do the background first. We'll go to Backgrounds, and instead of drawing a background color, we're going to go down to Foreground Image, and we'll use Sky. And that's fine for that. We also are going to use this tile set. So we go to the Tiles tab, and here's how this is going to work. Right now we can see our black collision objects. Now we need these still because these are what tell the computer that you are touching a surface. Okay, so these have to stay there. But we don't want to see them, so we're going to make them invisible eventually and replace them with these graphics. So here's how it works. If you go to the magnifying glass and uncheck Show Objects, those disappear. Okay, and so they're still there, you just can't see them in this view. So instead, we're going to use some of these graphics here to take their place. So I'm going to grab, for example, this ground object, and I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to drag this across, and we'll do maybe this square underneath it. Okay, so that's my surface. Now, when I go back to the view, well, I'll put in this column here on each side. So that is covered as well. Oops. Now I'm going to go back and turn on my objects. And I'm going to delete the ball. If it will let me. Oh, I'm in the wrong tab here. Let's go to Objects. There we go. Okay, what I want to do here is add more of my blocks, my black blocks here to cover up this area. So I'll go to Block, and I'll drag out a series of those. Okay, now there is nothing behind these, so the player will see this as an invisible area, but we need to put in some graphics to cover these as well. So let's turn off our, see, I'm going to lose track of where these go. We'll do this here. I think those showed up even though I clicked, yeah, okay. And then I'll put a little curl on each edge. And then we'll put okay, so there's kind of a little tower there, just to show you how that works. And let's go back to Objects, and I think I'm going to need one here, here, and I'm going to delete these ones. Okay, this area should not be passable, so I'm going to color that in with blocks as well. I'll click OK. And then we'll go back over to the block object, and I need to make this not visible. That way the player will never see that, even though the computer sees it and reacts to it. So we'll click OK. The next thing we need to do is change our character. So it says object ball here. I'm going to duplicate this and name this obj_character. And I'm going to set the graphic to sprite character right, and that's where they're facing originally. Okay, so we typed in that. Let's go to our left keyboard action, and we're going to go to main one and grab the change sprite, and we're going to change it to character sprite left, and these defaults are fine. And then we'll go to the right keyboard and do the same thing. Change it to character right, and the defaults are fine again. And that should take care of it. And now, if we run through this, we go back to the room and place this character into the game, I think we'll be good to go. Let's test this out. Here's our character. Let's go with the up key to jump, and there we go. We can jump around and we're stuck blocked by those. Okay, so that's the end of phase 2.